Hi guys, we're going to take an image that was emailed to me for your group, and I'm going to walk you through the process of getting it from an image to a cuttable file. So if we go, and first, of course, you're going to have your image. In your case, you're probably going to have it or open it from your email. And what I want to do is open that in a photo editing software of some kind. I use paint.net. It is a freeware program that you can download, and it is it's pretty much as powerful as PaintShop. And if you look at this picture, you can see it's pretty pixelated when you zoom in, and I think that's going to give us some problems if we tried to automatically trace it, which is what everyone wants to happen. If you look at the size of the picture, the resolution is good at 300 pixels an inch, but it's only 7 inches wide and 6 inches tall. So if we blow that up to plasma cutting size, it's going to be very rough. One thing we can do in this program is to select and resample, but we would lose a lot of this grain elevator detail. So first, the first thing I'm going to do is resize it, and I'm going to back the resolution down to 150, and I'm going to kick that up to a 36-inch width. And since I did that in this photo software, it's going to resample the pixels around this text, and that's called aliasing, and it just takes information from its neighbor and makes that a little larger. But let's take that image. Now that I've resized it, I'm going to go ahead and save it somewhere that I can find it. Pull that into Design Edge, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to use import. So this is the window that you see in Design Edge, and if you wanted to try to manual or to automatically trace this, I'm going to tell it to show it, but you would be sure to click to turn the image into vectors, and I have, or as you can see, our image size came in from what we had set in the paint program. If this was down at 7 inches, we could increase that size here, and the Design Edge software would change the size, but it doesn't do as good a job of rendering the pixels when it makes it larger. So I always do that in the photo software. So let's just tell it next. With black and white, we're going to get rid of our white background. And we want solid. These are all the original settings. And when we tell it to convert, it's going to do its absolute best to convert that for us into something usable. Because of the size of the image, it's going to take a while. Okay, it took a couple of minutes. And what we have, I did have it show me this in the drawing, so I'm assuming you guys are working with Advanced Design Edge so that you have that. I have every hotkey on it memorized because I use it every day, but you can go to hit F11, and that's going to hide that picture. So the 3D Farms looks great. The lines look great. This text is actually pretty close to what it is. I kind of came in better than I had expected. Even the phone number, so I'm happy with the wheat. We'll have to fix the ends of that a little because they'll be too small to cut anyway. Let's see, turn that back on and look. It's really did pretty well. Some of this should be probably square, but I don't know. I kind of like it. I think it did well. So the corn looks great, but if you cut that out like that, it's all going to fall apart. The big problem here is this grain elevator. All of these little bitty teeny tiny pieces are not going to work. Even some of this here. And I'll tell you, I mean, I get it from looking at it, but one easy way to tell if it's going to be able to cut or not is to compare it to the torch kerf. So before I dig into that, I want to tell you, your screen may not look like this. You may have these wide offset breakpoints for your machine, and your table is probably a 4x4. This is a 5x10. But you do have in advance the setting, and you see that my grid spacing is 1 inch. And in that 1 inch, I have it set to 4 snap points. And that's very nice for designing, especially dimensional parts. When you open up your settings and go to design, you do that here. So I do have show solid and show wide cut paths. And I have it not showing me the grate points. I have it showing me a drawing grid with 1 inch spacing and 4 snap points. Hopefully, if you have or haven't already covered snaps and their use, maybe your instructor can look up a video. I've got 2 so far on Design Edge, and the first one covers all of the snaps that are available. So as I was saying, we need to know what will cut and what won't cut. And so we may use some of these vectors that auto traced, and we may just decide to scrap it and trace this thing from scratch, which is probably what we're going to do. But I'm going to hit Q, which is to draw a circle. The program asked me for a diameter. Well, if I'm cutting this from 10 gauge with fine tip consumables, I would expect the kerf to be about 45 thousandths. So I'll put 0.045 and hit enter. And that's going to give me a circle to drag around. Now this circle that I'm dragging, I'm going to F1 to zoom in. That circle is the size of the kerf of the torch. So if I pierce a hole, it's actually going to be bigger at a pierce point. But that's the kerf. And so as you can see, that barely even fits in there. In fact, it only fits in one very, very small part of it. So if I tell it to convert that to a cut path, the program says it can't even do it. It's not big enough, because I have my kerf offset in the program set to my 45 thousandths for my cutter kerf. So it's trying to offset that, half that. So it's trying to offset 22.5 thousandths, can't do it. So Q.045, and that's going to show me my circle. Now it'll fit in this one, it'll fit in this one, it'll fit in that one. So again, I really think that with all of this mess here, compared to what I want it to look like, I feel like we can just probably do a better job drawing this by hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use K, and I'm going to break this path at each of those points, and then I'm going to draw myself a select window around what I can get without getting too much that I don't want. Just clear that out of there. And like I said, a lot of people want, push the button and make it happen. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. There's a stray path I'm going to get rid of. Hit my select window. See, there's a few little stray pieces that came in, and those can give you errors when you're cutting them. And the way I find these, see there's a little dot there. The way I find those is the number to the left of your number 1 key, or your view select. This gives you a list of all of the paths in this drawing by length. I've sorted them by length. So I'm going to pick that smallest one. I hit F6, that will zoom in on your selection. Then F2 will zoom out. I can hit delete. I say I don't want that one. So do the same thing there. Now I'm into the corn. So I'll have to fix that, and we'll check it again later. Alright, now it's time to look at what we can do to draw this grain elevator. So the first thing we do is I'm going to look, 45, And there's my curve size, which is pretty big. And I think those are people in there, maybe. Those are trees. So we're going to have to pick what detail we keep and what we don't. So let me line, and I'm in the end snap, on an orthogonal snap, and what I'm doing is I'm clicking to draw that line. Let me turn that off so you can see what I just did. What I'm doing is tracing this piece. I can hit O for orthogonal snap, or I can push my middle mouse wheel, and that brings up all of the snaps I have available. Because anytime you're clicking, what we're drawing is not drawing with a paintbrush. We're drawing out of your algebra class. We're drawing vectors, which is a line with a direction. And so orthogonal gives me a snap that only lets this line go at 45 degrees or 90. And so I can run it here, and I can just use orthogonal so that I'm sure it's straight. So I'm going to draw that up there. That is a pretty small detail. I'm probably going to let that go. And line E endpoint snap. All I'm going to do is get the basic outline of this overhang here. Now this is kind of a curve. And so I'm going to show you the next very, very important tool that I use is the bulge. Let me show you what the bulge does without this picture on it. So use Z to get a bulge. I have to pick a starting point and an end point, and then I can make an arc between those two, and I can stretch it however I need it. So that's a tool, also called a Bezier curve, but the tool in Design Edge is the bulge. So I'm going to turn that picture back on. I'm going to put a Z for the start point of my arc, and then I'm going to push E so that it snaps to that end point when I click close to that end. And I'm going to come over about where I think this bulge is going to fit before it changes its radius. I click, get that raised up, and I'm just going to do another one. From the end point to here, kind of keep it going. Another one Z for the E end point. Start to trace that. Now I've got an L line from that E end point. And we'll keep this light pole, and you may need to beef it up a little bit. But we're essentially just clicking for the basic shape of it. We can come back and fix it later and make it cuttable. Show you what I did there. There's our line. That's just a manual trace is all we did as we went around it. Now this is a Quonset Hut looking deal. I'm going to use a Z. I'm going to make a little, just a set of bulges here with this outline. I think that'll give the impression without having to have all this detail in here. And I'm E endpoint snapping every time, so now we're going to have to go up. So L, snap it to my E endpoint, and we've got us a grain elevator piece. That's kind of a curve. Z to the E. So you see I'm using lines and curves. L on the E. And see, those are braces or what they are, but I'm going to skip those. That set's too small to get. This one I can probably get in even if we just make it solid later. This one we can for sure get in design wise. So I just start to kind of work my way around. Go ahead and cut that off. We have to pick what detail that really just kind of comes from experience. The longer you sit in the seat and click the buttons, the more you get used to what you can and can't do. Let's turn this off for a second. You can see all I'm doing is going around the outside with lines and curves, and I'm making sure that anytime I stop, I'm starting with the end point of the previous one. So I'm just working my way around. I'm going to save that detail. And we got a tree. Lots we can do with that. Probably the easiest way is, now if we manually trace this, it would have to be exactly like this tree. If we do it with a little artistic license, we can make this tree look like what we want over here. We'll keep it close enough that it'll pay homage to the logo. I should have a line at some point. I'm going to X extend, X trim, J for join. There's your outline of the grain elevator. Then we can come in, and right now it's a big solid sheet of metal. So we can come in here, and I can look at this. I'm going to draw the insides of this, but I'm going to say 0.25. So that's 1/4 of an inch. So this little booger isn't very big, and it's going to be hair thin, and it's going to fall apart and burn up. So I have to know there's Q.25. So that's, if I leave that there, that's a 1/4 inch circle. Okay. So I know that I can't get all of that little detail in there, but I can. An 1/8 inch will hang in pretty good. So if I go down here, and so I'm just drawing this in, but I'm intentionally offsetting this kind of visually as I go to make this bigger, because I know it won't fit any other way. So I can get that in there. I can come up like this. Try to get some of these details in here, because this little elevator will want to stay. So I can, whoops, line from this endpoint to that endpoint, connect them together. Nope, I got a little hair hanging off here. I missed my endpoint snap, and so what I'm going to do is X extend and X trim and J for join. So now I have something that this is not exactly like our picture, but that's 1/4 of an inch circle, so that's big enough that it will actually stay in there. And then if I want to try to pull some detail into this piece, I'm looking at my curve. I think I better not put all of it, but I can, remembering that I've thickened it up. So I'm looking at the end of that there. I'm gonna kind of pull that like this. So I'm gonna draw one big triangle on that side. I'll keep about my same. J-join, J-join. Okay, so that'll work. And so if I do a fillet, not a fillet, that's for catfish, but if I fillet the with just around a sharp point, so if I fillet at 0.045 is my kerf, but that's the diameter, so I need half of that for the radius, so I put a /2. I can do the math right there in the command line, and then I can click on these and see what will actually fit. So when I run that torch, that's what it's going to look like. So that's all we had room for. And I like that. I think we'll leave that there. Yeah, that'll fit down in there. So you just have to go around, and I'm going to probably fast forward and do a little of this work. Together. Now then, let's see, our Quonset Hut, as it goes, we're kind of losing some of that detail in there. I'm going to draw this across like that, and then to make that into a cut piece, what I'm going to do is Q for a circle, and I'm going to make that an 1/8 inch cutout. And I'm going to, I drew that circle, let me do that again. Sorry, I'm used to doing it fast. Q for a circle. I'm going to make it 0.125 and hit enter. And I'm going to push E for end snap, and I'm going to click close to the end of this line, and it jumps down there to it. I'm going to C copy that circle from a C center point. And to get the center of something, you have to click actually on the shape. So I'm going to click on it, and you can see I've grabbed that circle by the center. And I'm going to move down here and E endpoint snap it down there. And I'm going to offset, and I could either do 0.125 divided by 2, or I could type in the 1/16 of an inch, 0.0625. But my offset is going to be half of the diameter of that circle. So 0.0625 for a 1/16. I'm going to hold Control, and that's going to jump and copy one direction. I'm going to let go of Control and click on the other side, and that'll actually move that one. And then I can X trim those out and hit J. And that line will give me some definition on that Quonset Hut. Looks to me like there's a little window. For cutting it, I can leave it like that. But for looking at it, for seeing how it's going to actually cut, that won't work. So what I really need to do is make myself, I'm going to draw a circle off up here out of the way. Because what I'm going to do is Q 0.045, which is my curve. I'm going to E endpoint. I'm going to, just like I did before, I'm going to C copy, C center, E end. Offset 0.045/2, hold the control the first time, let off the second, trim that out. Okay, so there is what it will look like when you cut it with one kerf width. But I don't want to lose this line like I did before, so I'm going to have to hold control both times, and I'm going to have to X trim both sides of that out and hit J for join. Now that line can stay in there, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to C copy, and I've got both my center line and this outside view piece selected, and I'm just going to copy that kind of at random down through here. I don't want it to be too exact. That's really not what I'm going for. I may have to rotate that just a little bit. As it comes down here, kind of the angle we're viewing it changes. So I'm going to rotate it, rotate a little bit. I think I'll make that break right on the other side of the window. That way it's not as obvious that we've changed. Put that one in between. Select those, C copy it, and we'll put some more in there. Let's see what that looks like. That gets us there. What I need to do now is I'm going to select only the centers. So grab those. Oops. Okay, I'm going to hit G for group them so that I don't have to do that again. And then I'm going to get my circle up here that I stuck in the middle of nowhere, and I held Control down, so now I have both of them selected. I'm going to C copy. I'm going to put those out here. And I'm going to leave my circle up there. I'm going to get these and delete those out. So now we can see what it's going to look like with our bits gone, and I'm going to show you. Let's see, I don't want that so close now, so even though that's not where the floor is in the drawing or the grade, I'm going to offset that, or make that Windows 625, which is bigger. Maybe go just a touch smaller, or a touch larger. So Q 0.0875. 0.0875 there. I'll put that on the end. C copy for the center. E endpoint, E endpoint, E endpoint. And yeah, I think that'll be okay. So remember, I did 0.0875, so I'm going to offset 0.0875 divided by 2. Again, let's see, no, these are bigger than a curve, so I'm going to let those go. Elevator out here in the middle of this, so I think this one would be a good one to do our offset trick. So we've got that drawn in. We're going to do it at let's see, a 16th is a little short, so that we'll go up to 3/32. So circle at 3/32. Yeah, I like that. E endpoint. C copy, C center. E endpoint. Now I want to show you something here. This could come to a sharp point, or it could come to a rounded point. depending on what we want to do. And when we use the offset tool, it pulls the parameters from our settings. So if I look at our settings in the offset convert tab, this is something you can go in and change as you need to. So I have it set to fill at outside corners that are above a 155-degree angle. If you set that to a low angle, then it will fill at all your corners. And that's nice when you're doing a design and you want smooth corners, but you don't always want that, especially these settings also apply to cut path conversions. So I'm going to leave it there. I want to show you 3/30 seconds would be half of 3/16. I'm going to show you. So see there, we have a sharp corner. Well, the torch can't get in that anyway. Plus, I kind of think for the top of this, I think I would like it to be more rounded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and just for the time being, change this to a 1 and have it to fill at that corner. And I'm going to push O for offset, 3/30 seconds again, hold control. And then, okay, so now you can see that on my outside corner, inside it's okay, but on my outside corner, I've actually now got a nice rounded fillet. And for some reason, oh, it's supposed to be 3/64. So we'll try that again. The smart way. At offset 3/64. There. Now it makes sense. So then we'll X trim these out and J join it, and then there's our other grain elevator. Or 5, which is my kerf. Enter and E for endpoint. I'm going to C copy from the C center and then E endpoint. I'm going to put that E endpoint snap on all of these lines. Missed that one. I'll just come back and delete it. And then I'm going to offset 1045 divided by 2. And I'm going to hold control each time because I want to save these for my conversion path. Then I can trim this out. You can see why people charge to do these conversions, because they're a lot of work. And if I'm not talking and explaining each step, I do go a little faster. As I said, I have all the hotkeys memorized, and if you spend much time in front of it, you'll have it too. Join those up, and then I'm going to grab my center pieces, and I'm going to show you again. Okay, so I'm going to G group those. I'm going to go up here, see my circle. So in one of my videos I talk a lot about reference points. So for this drawing, when I look at it, I don't want these lines in there, but I'm going to want them later for when I do the cut path conversions. So what I need to do is to take these and move them. So I'm going to M move those. I'm going to zoom out, and remember this circle I stuck up here in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to move them, but I'm going to move them from the C center point of that circle. So now they're just hanging off out in space, but you see I still have that circle over here. So I'm going to put the C center point, and that'll put them in the right place for me to be able to bring them back later. Okay, so I need to, oops, I missed one, see that? I know. What I also want to do is keep these closed paths that I have drawn for viewing all grouped together. So I'm going to G group those. I need to M, move that one from the C center of my little reference circle to the the C-center of this reference circle so that it goes where it belongs over there. Oh, I'm not very smart. Where did my pieces go? Oh, there they are. Okay, so now I've got those moved, and I can F11 to view my piece again. And let's see. So let's just kind of get it in there. And because it's a tree, we're going to have some odd spaces for leaves in here. So we'll get that drawn in. Artistic interpretation. We want it to look like a tree. We join those up. That'll give you some break for the leaves. Take that on up there. Get our trunk drawn in there. We'll probably trim that out. I'll just extend this node point orthogonal straight. And just to define that tree a little more, I'm going to cut that out like that. And I'm going to come in here like that, orthogonal. Break that line we did and trim it off, join that up and see what that looks like. So there's our tree, like that. And if I do a curve on this, join that, that's Q.04. Little oval logo up there, and I'm thinking we can probably Control Z will bring us up an oval. Excuse me, it's not an oval, it's an ellipse. And so just going to draw it in here. just going to put that down just to kind of give it a little bit of character, something besides a big square block. Looks like there's kind of an S in there or something. Maybe that's a 3 and a B, I don't know. Guess we could put a B. If we copied that, scaled it way down. Well, that can see what that looks like. Obviously, it's not going to be exact, but kind of give it a little bit of push. That's a 0.045 divided by 2, so that's just to show me what my torch will actually fit in with the curve. So, yeah, that gives it a little something. We'll go with that. I'm going to actually, there's no real lines on this, but it actually has and them offset. So offset 0.045/2. Well, to make this easy, I'm going to C copy those from the C center and then C center, so they're all in the right spot over here now. That way I can go ahead and ungroup them. I can go ahead and do them the way I want and not have to spend so much time trimming them out. So Q 0.045, E endpoint, CC center. We'll just put circles on the ends of them. I think we have an acceptable grain elevator now. Let's see, this little piece of wheat, I really think that this whole sign would do well to be inside a full oval, and I know that we wanted it at 3 feet, and I could probably stand to scale this down, but with my kerf cuts that I've already drawn, I hate to resize it. So I'm going to try to hold pretty true to the 3 foot, but we may wind up slightly over. So first let me draw an 80% ellipse at 36 inches. And move that over our piece. So that's not quite the right. It's actually a little bit shorter, so we'll try 70. Let's go 75 and see where that puts us here. That's pretty close. Maybe even a little skinnier still. I want to get it fairly close, so the text doesn't look like it's at the wrong. There we go. 70% is going to work perfect, so it doesn't look like it's at the wrong angle. And so for this to work, I'm going to have to offset that out, and so we're going to be a little bigger. So that's a 1 inch outside offset. I'm going to delete that top and bottom text piece. When I moved that, you saw I made sure to select my little reference circle, because that's got to hang around. Okay, so for your quality seed headquarters, those are teeny. I think what I want to do is to get them grabbed. Holding control down, I can select multiple things at once, including drawing a square around them and selecting them with the marquee. And I can also click on them and unselect them. So I'm going to G-group those so that I can play with them a little. And I'm going to try to maybe scale them up just a touch. I wish. An inch tall, it's not too bad. Scaling that up doesn't make it fit quite right anymore. Okay, I think what I want to do, I want to keep that text, and I want it to stand proud. So I think what I'm going to do is just break my inside ellipse. And scale that. See, an ellipse has 2 center points, so that won't work. I'd have to draw me a line from that quadrant. I'm using Q-snap line, Q-snap, Q-snap. So if I scale that from that eye intersection, there we go. Now I can give myself a little, oops, scale from the eye intersection, and this time I will hold control so it copies it instead of that. There. Delete. Now then I can offset. An eighth would be a little short, so let's offset 3/16. Us a little bigger deal, and I'm going to have to ungroup that. I'm going to have to kind of cheat this. So I'm going to drag each letter to do a P. I'm going to make it perpendicular to this. Oops, what is that? Line. P perpendicular to this, and I'm going to grab it H right there. Okay. Do the same thing over here. L, P perpendicular. That better be about that end point. Off 3/16. And I'm going to use X to extend and trim. Offset 3/16. X to extend. Trim. Oops, something didn't come. I'm going to push D for detect. I don't have any. I must not have gotten it quite together at some point. Oh, there's a little hanger outer. J for join. There's an intersection. Did that at both sides. There. There we go. Now we can take this piece of wheat. We can hook it onto that thing we just made. Get rid of the deal. I think if I fill it with that, okay, it won't let me. I don't really. I think that's gonna come off. So having that hair out there is really not that important of a detail, as much as it is not falling off. And I think here we need to draw a line on that center line there, offset a 1/4 inch each, or an 1/8 of an inch each way. That's going to give me a nice 1/4 inch stalk. I'm going to extend that, trim that stuff out of there. I'll just have it come. Oh, that's fine. I'll put it there. That'll let that stick out there. We'll do the same thing with the corn. Offset 0.125 enter. Control the first time, not the second. That'll give us a 1/4 inch bridge to that. Now this corn is a hot mess, so I'm going to move it over this piece so it overlaps. I'm going to look at my kerf. So my kerf, it doesn't fit down in there, but I kind of like that detail where it comes together. So I'm going to show you a new tool that I haven't shown you, and that's the brush. I'm going to brush, and I'm going to brush at 0.045, which is my kerf width. And I'm going to hold the button down. I'm going to drag this back in here. And that'll brush those vectors out so that I know it'll fit this one. Hook it in. I think probably Z node and H snap. Let me curve that back out. I'm going to have to figure out what best to do here. Those are all small. As you can see, that's only an inch. This is an inch square. I think it would be almost better to just pull that together and not have all these kernels down in here. This piece, if we wanted to keep it, would need to move. But I'm trying to determine just exactly what good it would do. I'm almost inclined to say that that arc kind of replaces the need for that. Yeah, I like that better. I'm going to trim out the ends of this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I want that to be a pretty beefy piece to go across the middle of this sign. So I'm going to make it bigger than it was. And so I will line E endpoint orthogonal, and I will offset that. Let's offset it a ½ inch. And you know what? Let's go with 3/4. Offset 0.75 enter. There we go. And we'll run that across because I want to tie this together like that. Now we got something holding our sign together. And our 3B, we're going to move that up just a touch so that it can hang from that line. A teeny bit more so that we don't have any problems. You see Q.045. That fits down into most of those. If I have 0.045/2, I think I'm okay with the way that's going to come out. Yeah, I like that. And I'm not going to fillet all of these little pieces just to see them. I think they're going to be fine. So we're going to just look at those. I just kind of try to look it over. F6 and view it. I can also go, you can change your screen cover colors, but one easy way to do it is to go to print, print and then preview it. And that lets you look at it. I do scale to fit the page, entire piece. You can look and see kind of what it's going to look like. Another way to do that is to print and bitmap and check that. I set these rather high because I do print my proofs this way. And I tell it OK, and I would save that. It's 3B Farms proof. And then we go back over into paint.net and we would open that 3B Farms proof. There's what that sign is going to look like when it cuts. And at this point I can kind of look it over and look for any drastic problems I see. One thing I can also do is check my magic selection tool and click on part of the black. And what that does for me is that selects everything that is touching that black, that is the color black. And so I can look for places that would drop out, little islands. If there's an island in the middle, then it would be like this black dot up here and still be black. And that would tell me that I need to go in and look at that, because it is a piece that is a hole cut inside of a hole that will either not be cut or will fall out. So I like this piece. Let's look real quick at the cut path conversion. I'm not going to have it overcut to reduce undercutting. I did post a picture the other day on the owners community of what that does, but to quickly explain it, the torch will travel down into a hole where it's actually won't fit, to essentially overcut the hole rather than drastically undercut it. But we've drawn this with that in mind, so I don't want that checked. I need to fillet corners. I like over 150 to be filleted on cut paths, and I'm going to set it to reduce the heat since there's quite a bit of cutting going on in that grain elevator, because it will cause that dross to stick bad. So we do reduce heat. It'll jump around, let the metal cool some in between. And make sure exclude crossovers is checked, because we've got some text and stuff that we didn't fillet, and I don't want it to have crossovers. Okay, so now at this point I'm going to copy all of this, because this is our print preview. And then I'm going to delete all of those lines, and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to move them from the C center point of this to the C center point of this, and that's going to put all of those lines back in to be converted as actual open path cuts. So at that point we're ready to say in for a new cut path and click just to the outside. It says, do you want to convert the holes? Yes, we do. And there's our cut paths. Everything's ready to cut on your machine. As you saw, I had the overcut to reduce undercut unchecked, so it stopped and didn't go all the way in that hole, which is what I wanted it to do. So there you've got your complete cut path. I'm going to move that out of the way. F9 to turn those back on. Move those out here. I'm going to delete my little reference circles. I'm going to leave you with two things. The first one is one ready to convert. This one is with open cut paths, with closed paths, so you can actually scale this up as big as you want and everything will stay proportionate in our drawing. And this one, ready to load on your machine, and cut away.